My grandparents lived on a farm, and every Christmas Eve, my family, my parents, my sisters, my aunt and uncles and cousins would all gather together at the farmhouse. And we would gather for an evening meal. First course was homemade chicken noodle soup, homemade noodles also. Then the main course, usually a turkey. And then on the side was this huge long table full of desserts. And so we would eat and enjoy each other's conversation. And then after that, we would clean up, put the dishes, we'll wash the dishes and put them away. Then we would gather around the Christmas tree for the opening of gifts. Then we would celebrate, and when it was around 11 p.m., then we would get dressed up, and we would drive about 10 minutes up the hill to a small country mission church for midnight mass. We would all gather together as a family there. And that was the tradition that I grew up with. But as families get older, then that tradition began to change. Instead of going to midnight mass with everyone, everybody went to midnight mass or to mass on Christmas in their own respective church that they practiced on a regular basis. But the tradition of going and being with family was something that was started not with me, not with my parents, but further in earlier generations. And maybe thinking the tradition that brings you here today to St. Thomas More, with your families or friends or by yourself, the tradition that has brought you here on Christmas Day. But what has brought us here is not something on our own. We didn't come here just to say, oh, it's Christmas, I'll go to church. But it's been passed down over generations. It's been passed down from person to person. Passing down, so to speak, the tradition of our faith. And as it's passed down, that's something that we learn. We learn about our faith from others. We heard how the angels brought the good news of the infant Jesus to the shepherds. And as the shepherds heard the good news, then they experienced it for themselves. And as they experienced it for themselves, then they went out and shared it with others, shared the good news. But there was something that was common in all of that, was that they had to claim it for themselves. They went with everyone, and same thing for us. We go here, we come here, but we have to claim that faith for ourselves. We can go to please other people. We can go to say, well, the whole family's going, but we have to be able to claim it for ourselves. Claim that faith for ourselves. And say, this is the faith I believe in. This is the faith I live every day of my life. And what this tradition of faith brings to us is a relationship. It's a relationship with God, first and foremost. Because that's what we really long for. We long for a relationship with God. And we try to find it in many ways. But we really want that relationship with God. And as we gather here as a people who have come to worship, as we gather here, we encounter the presence of God. We encounter the presence of God through the priest. We encounter the presence of God through one another. We encounter the presence of God in the word that we heard. We encounter the presence of God in the gift of the Eucharist. In all of that, we come to know Christ for ourselves. Not filling in that someone else tells us to do, but we claim an identity with Christ. And that's how it feeds us. That is how we are nourished. That's how we grow in our faith, because it becomes part of who we are. Becomes part of who we are. And so we can struggle with that, or that's what we long for. But in all of that, we would say, well, if God would just come down and show me, then I would have a greater faith. But the proof or the existence of God doesn't come in a mathematical formula or a scientific experiment. God doesn't come to us with a lightning bolt or a stick of dynamite and say, boom, here I am, and it would be easy to believe then. No, Jesus comes to us. God comes to us as a child, as an infant. And how disarming that is. How disarming that is for an infant to come. And that infant comes to us through love and wanting us to know that infant. To come to know that infant takes a lifetime, takes a journey. It's not a journey that happens just all of a sudden, but it is a journey throughout our entire life. And that is who Jesus walks with us. That child, that infant walks with us. That's what we long to know. That's what we long to be with. And it takes a cooperation on our part. As we know, life is not easy. Life has its pains. Life has its sorrows. Life has its ups and downs. And in all of that, there is Christ. We're so used to instantaneously taking care of everything. We don't feel well, we take a pill and boom, we take a shot. Or we go, I want to order this. Boom, there it is. It'll be here in 30 minutes. You see, we want it that fast. But faith doesn't work that way. Faith in Jesus takes time. It is a journey. How easy it would be if everything was so instantaneous. Say, oh wow, I'm here with all these people today. Beautiful music. The environment is all set up for us. What a phenomenal homilist there is today. Well, just see if you're listening. And if that were, everything fell into place and wow, I'm going to walk out of here refreshed, renewed, and my faith is on fire. Well, it might happen, but likely no. Is that we'll go, but the touch of Jesus is upon us. The hand of Jesus is upon us as a child, as a tender, loving, caring child, of how that brings that out of us. And that's our cooperation with Jesus. All throughout this, God is there with us, growing, walking with us in our faith, within us and with us. And that's what we really long for, to be in that relationship with Jesus. And as we celebrate this day, the birth of Jesus, this Christmas, we can be assured Christ has and does come to us. And we seek to encounter his love this day and every day of our lives. And for our part, as the Christmas carols say, let every heart prepare him room. May our hearts be prepared. May our hearts prepare room for him. And as we journey with Christ, as we journey throughout life, as we encounter Christ in different areas of our life in different ways, let every heart prepare him room. And this is our faith tradition.